Welcome to Grung TV, the entertainment hub for news, views, reviews, and gossip. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notification bell.
Welcome back to Ground TV. Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang says the government will not seek to declare another state of emergency until its appeal is heard. At the same time, Chang noted that the security measure will be imposed only when absolutely needed. Jamaica has recorded 218 murders since the start of 2021. SOEs were one of the main features in the government's crime-fighting strategies. Last September, a Supreme Court judge ruled that the detention of 5 men under the state of emergency was unconstitutional. The men had been detained for extended period in at least 3 parishes. Justice Bertram Morrison had declared that the men's constitutional rights and the Constitution itself had been violated by what was described as exclusive detention. The government subsequently filed an appeal. According to Chang, it is the full court that ought to rule on the constitutionality of the SOE, especially at this stage. Chang said he had made some comments, but we have to go to the Court of Appeal to get their call. We are confident we will be successful in dealing with it there. Of course, we may have to look at some of the regulations, which is a different issue. Chang reiterated that if it was absolutely necessary, the government would consider declaring another SOE. The security minister told our news source that strong policing would be deployed in affected areas before pursuing the measure. It goes back to the level of lawlessness, gangs taking over communities, capturing and murdering people, burning down homes and running people out, Chang said, as he cited conditions where the declaration of the state of emergency would be absolutely necessary. 5 persons were shot, 1 fatal, by unknown assailants along the Helsha Main Road in Portmore, St. Catherine a short while ago. Our news source understands that the deceased is a male. Police investigators are currently on the scene. The incident has resulted in a pileup of traffic along a section of the Municipality Boulevard. The Greater Portmore CIB is investigating. A Jamaican family is in mourning after 30-year-old Tashiana Johnson Blake was reportedly shot dead by her military husband in front of their 2 children in Colorado, United States on the weekend. The police have arrested the suspect Dermot Andrew Blake, who is a Jamaican and in his 30s, on charges of first-degree murder and child abuse without injury. Blake, an active duty sergeant at the Fort Carson military base, did not have a bond listing on the El Paso County Sheriff's website yesterday when he was scheduled for his first court arraignment. The tragic event hit Johnson Blake's family hard, with an uncle taking to Facebook to express his grief. "I am mourning because of her. My niece lost her to domestic violence," he captioned in a photo. Another uncle who resides in Jamaica told our news source that the family has been devastated. "She came out here when she was smaller. She and my sister came to visit," he said of Johnson Blake, a realtor whose parents are both Jamaican. He said that the couple had been together for several years and theorized that a domestic dispute might have led to the shooting. His most domestic problem, they have 2 kids together, and me hear say him kill her in front of the 2 pitney them. Shot her in her head, the uncle said. "I got the call and spoke to her grandmother, also his mother, and she said they were getting ready to go down to Colorado. They are in New York. They were to call me back, but I guess the situation have them up their way," he told our news source yesterday. The family is particularly concerned about how it will affect the couple's children, even as they called for justice to be served. Reports from the Colorado Springs police are that they responded to a call of shooting about 1 a.m. and when they arrived in the 2000 block of Squash Ridge Grove, they found a woman who has not been named by the police or in U.S. media reports, but whose family members tell their news source that Johnson Blake dead inside the house. Her death is currently being investigated as a homicide. U.S. media reports that the identity of the woman killed will not be released until the coroner's office determines the cause of death. "We are not safe anymore, whether we are involved or not," were the words of the partner of 66-year-old businessman Maurice Clark, who was shot and killed in his yard on the Innswood Estate, St. Catherine property by gunmen on Saturday night about 9:30. Jacqueline Watson had just prepared a meal of saltfish done with onion and tomato at the request of her common-law husband, which he never got a chance to consume before he received single gunshot that doctor who pronounced him dead at the Spanish Town Hospital said pierced his heart. According to reports, Clark had earlier closed his car wash business in an effort to abide by the curfew regulations and was sitting in his front yard when a 19-year-old man who goes by the name of Chinaman stopped at his gate to exchange pleasantry. It is reported that men in a white Nissan Tiida motorcar drove up at the same time, rolled down their rear window and fired 4 shots at the 19-year-old, hitting him 3 times in the head. One of the bullets missed his mark and hit Clark in the chest. Both were later pronounced dead. Him wasn't on the street. We are not safe anymore. Him always obey the curfew since it start. Him tell me say him feel for saltfish with enough tomato and soft yam and dumplings. I'ma prepare it for him. A weeping Watson told her news source. I shared out his dinner and I came to the front door and called him to come inside to eat his food. He said to me that he wasn't quite ready. He was just reasoning with the youth them. Those were his last words before I heard the shots. She stated that after the shooting stopped, she looked outside and saw Clark lying face down in the front yard and the young man he was talking to sprawl out on the road in front of the gate. He is one of the best men me ever talk to. Him no make me short of nothing. Him always provide for me. I will never get over this, the tearful woman said. Clark is the father of 3 children, 2 girls and a boy who lived elsewhere. His stepson Leroy Allison, who lived with the couple, said Clark was the best father he ever had. I will never forget him. He was a real father to me. I am extremely saddened by his death, Allison said. A man serving a life sentence for the 2013 shooting death of a 4-year-old boy in a dispute over a broken pipe in Allman, Kingston, has had his appeal tossed last week despite maintaining that he was mistakenly identified as the shooter. The appeal was dismissed in the High Court on Friday by Justice Franklin Williams, Carol Edwards and Vivian Harris after his attorney C.J. Mitchell, who had been appointed by the High Court, said he had not found sufficient evidence to reject the verdict of the jury or the impugned summation of the learned trial judge. Marlon McMillan was found guilty of killing Rashawn Burford and wounding his grandmother in October 2016. The boy, who at the time of the incident was hiding under a bed, received a gunshot wound to the head while his grandmother was shot in the buttocks. McMillan was sentenced in the Home Circuit Court to life imprisonment on the murder charge and 15 years in prison for wounding with intent. Justice David Fraser, who had handed down the sentence, has ordered that McMillan must serve 25 years before becoming eligible for parole. Prosecutor Cy Wicken Maxwell led evidence that Rushing died from a gunshot wound to the head after McMillan opened fire at a neighbor in a dispute over a broken water pipe in their Allman town tenement. In 2013, the boy's grandmother had testified that after the dispute, McMillan, who she also knows as Chris, left the yard and returned with a short gun which he pointed towards her brother's room. McMillan, who had given an unsworn statement from the prisoner's dock, admitted that he had been in an argument with the neighbors on the morning Burford was killed. He had left his yard after the argument and had not returned that day. He filed an appeal claiming that there was a lack of evidence linking him to the crime and that he was wrongfully identified. He also claimed that it was an unfair trial, alleged miscarriage of justice, and said that the judge had failed to give adequate direction to the jury regarding the inconsistency and contradictory testimony by the prosecution witness. But Mitchell, in a written submission to the Court of Appeal, said that after carefully going through the summation, he found that the judge left all relevant important issues, including identification and credibility, to the jury in a fair manner and that the judge also gave good character direction. The learned trial judge did not deal with the contradictions or inconsistency that arose from the evidence, but such contradictions and inconsistency did not affect the roots of Graveman of Crown's case, Mitchell added.